Drag Me to Hell is probably one of my favorite horror movies just from that 2005 to 2011 era. I remember seeing this in the theater and I was just like, wow, it was just such a cool cinematic experience. And this is one of those movies where it they don't use the same four shots or for every scene or something. You could tell every scene is like carefully crafted. Every shot is like carefully crafted, and it almost felt like, I mean, this is gonna sound a little weird, but it almost felt like you're watching like a comic book or an anime, like in the sense that each individual shot is like selective and everything is unique. It's not just the same medium or wide or large shot, right? Everything has a unique angle and there's a sound effect. And I thought it was just a well crafted movie. Obviously, there's a lot of jump scares and things as well, and it's just a fun ride. It's very like cinematic and visual, and I think that's why I love it so much. Let's get into it. Drag Me to Hell follows a loan officer who evicts an old woman from her home and finds herself the recipient of a supernatural curse. Desperate, she turns to a seer to try and save her soul, while evil forces work to push her to a breaking point. So first off, I just want to say that I think one of the reasons that I really love this movie is that, especially when I saw it in the theater, is that it was such a cinematic experience. And what I mean by that is that, especially just when you look at the use of how the shots look and the lighting and the sound, everything just kind of comes together so well. And you could tell this was like very crafted, especially probably down from the screenplay up into the storyboards. Like you could tell this wasn't just a kind of like thrown together in a sense. The camera's guiding you where it needs to be and where it wants you to be. And I could feel that, when I watched it. It really kind of like set me into the scene. And I love that. So something else that I noticed, especially when I first saw this in the theater, was that there's like a steady build up to all these scenes, right? I mean, the shots are very like crafted, right? There's like a might be a panning shot or a weird zoom in shot or something like that. But at the same time, it's like a steady build up. And then they don't just scare you off rip. And I just love that. And it kept me like watching through the movie and it kept me like super engaged as well because it kind of like pulls you into one thing and then it pulls you into something else and then boom, it hits you. But you don't really like expect it because it kind of draws you in like a snake. And that's just something else I really loved about the whole movie watching experience. So I'm in the theater, I'm watching this, and I'm just like, what is gonna go down? So there were a lot of portions of the movie where it messed with me like psychologically, and it was just in ways I didn't really expect, and it just made it like a fun experience. It was like, okay, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit.
Let's say your client is a company that can't get traditional bank financing.
So I think something that should be noted is that while this is a horror movie and there's a lot of jump scares and things like that, there's so many scenes in this movie that are so awkwardly hilarious. Like some of this stuff is just like it's just comical and in like a great way, and it really gives like a nice vibe to the movie. I mean, there's a scene where Christine, she's like the main character. She gets this nosebleed, and
Here, let me help you.
No, I've got it under control.
What is with you?
Mr. Jones.
Did I get any in my mouth?
Oh my God.
Did I get any in my mouth?
so one of the things that I mean, I kind of have more of like a love hate relationship with this movie is that a lot of the scenes are just very like grotesque. I mean, most horror movies, they usually tend to lean more towards the gory side of things. With this one in particular, there's way more like grotesque scenes in there. And I think that's kind of a homage to kind of the old school horror movies. Now, when I saw these scenes, especially in the theater, I felt like super cringy and everything. Like I still enjoyed it, you know. It just made me like uncomfortable, especially this funeral scene. There's just a lot of scenes in this movie that just make you want to like just take a shower. So overall, I highly recommend this movie. I'm just glad I got a chance to see this movie in the theater. I loved it ever since then, since I saw it in 2009. So uh, overall, it's just a really well put together movie. I mean, even down to like the shot selection, the type of angles, right? Every scene looks different, right? And it really kind of pulls you into it in its own unique way. I mean, the sound mixing, everything is done so well there, the lighting. It was just a well put together movie, you know, just all around. I mean, the screenplay, the story, the characters, all of it just really kind of like came together to make just an excellent horror movie that's a real like cinematic experience. So I highly recommend this one. Well worth the watch, even though it's over 10 years old. Well worth the watch. You will not regret it. So again, highly recommend. Definitely check it out.